top news headlines. International Dance Day observed efforts on to upgrade Manipur University of Culture to Central University, says King Sanajau Balesimba. Group B topper Manipur to lock horns with 32-time champion West Bengal in second semi-final of Santosh Trophy Football Championship at 8:30 tonight. And insurgency in Northeast states reduced by 80% in last 8 years, says Ministry of Home Affairs. Hello, a very good evening. You're watching the Mami TV English News in focus with me, CHENGLEINGANBI KHAIDEM. The news in detail. Member of Rajya Sabha King Lesemba Sanajauba has said efforts are on to upgrade Manipur University of Culture to Central University and expressed confidence that the state will provide a good platform for the artists of Manipur. He was speaking at the celebrations of International Dance Day held at the Directorate of Art and Culture's Chandrakriti Auditorium, Konung Mamang, organized by Manipur University of Culture today. Vice Chancellor of the Varsity Professor P. Gunindro and other eminent personalities attended the observance. Speaking further, Rajya Sabha member Sanajau Balesemba said the International Dance Day is inseparable from the rich culture of Manipur. Manipur is known across the world because of the contributions and dedications of renowned artists of the state. He said, pointing out that there are more critics than encouragers when someone embarks on a positive journey. He appealed to the artists not to be disheartened. Expressing his concern over the tendency to disrupt the current art forms by adding other modern art forms in the name of development, he said that it will hinder the development of the culture of Manipur and will remain as it is. People of the state must take responsibility in protecting and preserving the culture of Manipur, he added.
Ekoi saga landa aduga lanmi ona hongpani koisi ekoi lebak singla chana bohana bada sahin singkayasi koi ning tamna aduga topa yengna basingna ekoi da attack to ko matam da ekoi lebak singla na bohana matam da ekoi nupi su nupa su angang su al su loina makse ekoi lanmi ona loina hongpani mitna singba adagi chomba phanba kano taw se pada ya haithoi singtoi basi oida ga ekoi lakpani aduna madu ekoi jinda yawiba aduna amuk adugumba salani matamdo tamna sumlo sala matamdadi ekoi jinda yahawa adugi haising bado ekoi somda sana khona balonda adagi jagoi seirok tamadagi ekoi kano si amuk ekoi haina bido matamda ontholo pani haidana mayam akhangai sing tapi
Varieties of cultural programs were presented by students of Manipur University of Culture as part of the celebration. Manipur is all set to take on West Bengal in the second semi-final of the 75th Santosh Trophy Football Championship for a sport in the final after a decade. Group B topper Manipur will take on West Bengal in the second semi-final of the championship at Peyanat Stadium in Manjeri, Kerala tonight at 8:30 p.m. Both teams lost one match each in the final group encounter before reaching the semi-final. Manipur lost Odisha in the group stage but won the other 3 games to reach the semi-final. Although West Bengal lost to Kerala, it won against Punjab, Meghalaya and Rajasthan in the group matches. The winning team will take on host Kerala in the final match scheduled to be played on Monday. It may be mentioned that West Bengal beat Manipur in the Santosh Trophy finals 2-1 in 2011. West Bengal has won Santosh Trophy for a record of 32 times so far. Manipur lifted Santosh Trophy in 2002. A report by the Ministry of Home Affairs has said insurgency problems in 8 states of northeastern region of India have been reduced to 75%, while civilian deaths has been reduced to 99%. According to the annual report of the Ministry of Home Affairs, the security situation in the northeastern state has improved substantially since 2014. The year 2020 recorded the lowest insurgency incidents and casualties among the civilians and security forces during the last 2 decades. There has been an 80% reduction in militancy incidents in 2020 as compared to 2014. Similarly, there has been a reduction of 75% in the casualties of security forces and 99% in the casualties of civilians during this period. The report also said that the year 2020 witnessed a decline of about 27% in insurgency incidents. There were 223 incidents reported in 2019 and 162 in 2020. Compared to 2019, which saw 25 casualties of civilians and security forces personnel, the year 2020 witnessed just 7 casualties. 2020 reports added. The High Court of Manipur has admitted 2 different elections petitions filed against Kakching MLA Mayanglambam Rameshwar and Khetragaon MLA Sheikh Nurul Hasan. The 2 MLAs have also been issued notices returnable before May 20th and May 23rd respectively. An election petition filed by Yengkhom Surchandra of Kakching Turil Wangma against MLA Mayanglambam Rameshwar was listed for hearing yesterday before the single bench of Justice Langsungkum Jamir. The election petition was filed under Section 80, 80A, 80 and 84 and Section 101 of the Representations of the People Act 1951, challenging the elections of Mayanglambam Rameshwar as a member of the 12th Manipur Legislative Assembly from Kakching Assembly constituency on the ground of improper acceptance of nominations of the respondent by the returning officer of Kakching Assembly constituency. Citing various discrepancies in the election nominations papers, the petitioners prayed for declaring the elections of Mayanglambam Rameshwar from Kakching Assembly constituency as member of the 12th Manipur Legislative Assembly as null and void. The petitioner also prayed for declaring him as an elected member of Manipur Legislative Assembly from Kakching Assembly constituency in the 12th Manipur Legislative Assembly elections 2022. The court, after hearing the submissions of the petitioners, counsel admitted the elections petitions and issued notice to Mayanglambam Rameshwar returnable before May 20th and listed the matter on the same day. The elections petitions filed by Nahakpam Indrajit against Khetragaon MLA Sheikh Nurul Hasan was also accepted by the single bench of Justice A.M.B. Murali Durant yesterday. The election petitions challenged the elections of Sheikh Nurul Hasan as member of the 12th Manipur Legislative Assembly from Khetragaon Assembly constituency on the ground of improper acceptance of his nominations by the returning officer of Khetragaon Assembly constituency. Citing several alleged anomalies, the petitioner prayed for declaration of the elections of Sheikh Nurul Hasan as a member of the 12th Manipur Legislative Assembly from Khetragaon AC as null and void and to declare him as the representative of Khetragaon AC. After perusing the petitions, the court issued notice to the respondent returnable before May 23rd. Jila Parishad member K.H. Raj Mohan distributed edibles items to around 500 households near Khongjau Pukri at Hayalabuk in connections with the upcoming Eid al-Fitr on May 3rd. Speaking on the occasion, Raj Mohan thanked the locals of Hayalabuk for extending their help in the distribution. He also wished prosperity to the people on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr. A public lecture and interactive sessions with the Kuki I&A War veteran was held yesterday at KIC conference hall at Tuibong, organized by the Kuki Students Organizations Churachandpur. Director, Indian Council of Historical Research, Dr. Om G. Upadhyay, Professor of Osaka University of Commerce, Japan, Yoshihiro Kaburagi, Khetra Sangatham Mantri of Northeast State, and Akhil Bharatiya Sampak Pramukh, Akhil Bharatiya Itihas Sankalan Yojana, Hemanta Dhin Mazumder, General Secretary of Bharatiya Itihas Sankalan Samiti, Assam Prant, Dr. Subhajit Chowdhury, and retired MSAs Robert Sailam Haukip presided over the session as the presidium members. Out of the more than 600 vulnerable Kuki freedom fighters, 8 freedom fighters who are still alive attended the session and shared the memos. The Longa Koireng Village Authority has stated that El Chaumirem Koireng of Longa Koireng Village, who was arrested by Manipur police as he tried to break open an ATM near Langjing Market, is a rover and wayward youth. Chairman of Longa Koireng Village is R. Sozand Koireng and Secretary of Longa Koireng Village Authority W. Khelsong Koireng said the youth has been expelled from the village for his dishonest behavior after people of the village convened a meeting. Besides, as per the customary law of the Koireng community, the meeting also resolved to make El Chaumirem offer the villagers 5 pigs and 2 pots of country liquor, the press release said. Hockey Manipur has formed subcommittee for the smooth conduct of the upcoming D12 Hockey India Sub-Junior Women's National Championship 2022 to be hosted by Manipur Hockey. The decision was made during an executive board meeting of Manipur Hockey held on January 23rd. According to a notice issued by the organizing secretary of Hockey Manipur, L. Basanta Sarma, the subcommittee's form are ceremonial and receptions, finance, accommodations and transport, medical, technical, publicity and souvenir, catering, security and advisory board. A meeting was also held to discuss the expansions of the committees. Here we have a short commercial break. Please stay tuned for more update.
Nahak, pukning wakhali anaba laibra. Drug addiction amadi mental disorder treatment gidamak adom karigi wari. Manipurda ihan-hanba oina Rehabilitation Treatment Center. Inkhalak liba naha singkita oiba experienced lairaba doctors amadi clinical psychologists singna lying jari. Experts singna counseling piba 24/7 CCTV camera da monitor toduna kupna senaba. Morning yoga, healthy diets, weekly health checkup, intensive daily routine. Awaba kayadagi ngakthoknaba leijare Yaipokpa Rehabilitation and Child Care Center, Kwakathel Akham Laikai. Adongi mathau tarabadi makhada pijariba contact number asida pau phawbiro.
Welcome back again after the break. Several states in India are reeling from frequent power outages due to the shortage of coal in thermal power stations. The key states facing the issue of power outages are Delhi, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh. India, however, has cancelled some passenger trains to allow for faster movement of coal carriages as the nation scrambles to replenish depleting inventories at power plants in a bid to avoid a full-blown power crisis. A scorching summer is driving demand for coal, which helps generate about 70% of the country's electricity. Several parts of India are facing long hours of blackouts, while some industry are cutting output due to the fossil fuel shortage, threatening the economy's revival from the pandemic-induced slump. The risk of a further spike in inflation is rising at a time when the government is struggling to rein in higher energy prices fueled by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The measure is temporary and passenger services will be restored as soon as the situation normalizes, said Gaurav Krishna Bansal, an executive director at Indian Railways, one of Asia's largest network. India lodged 3,377 new COVID-19 infections with 60 deaths in the last 24 hours. This took the country's total tally of cases to 4.30 crore, while the active cases rose to 17,801, according to the data updated by Union Health Ministry today. The number of deaths, however, climbed to 5.23 lakh with the fresh fatalities. The active cases comprise 0.04% of the total infections, while the national COVID-19 recovery rate was recorded at 98.74%. An increase of 821 cases has been recorded in the active COVID-19 caseload in a span of 24 hours. The daily positivity rate also recorded at 0.71% and the weekly positivity rate at 0.63%. Meanwhile, the number of people who have recuperated from the disease surged to 4.25 crore. On the other hand, the cumulative doses administered in the country under the nationwide COVID-19 vaccinations drive has exceeded 188.65 crore. Some individual politicians and not parties in the ruling coalition have demanded revisiting of the peace signed between Meghalaya and Assam to resolve the border dispute, Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad K. Sangma has said. Sangma also said that Meghalaya government is ready to explain all the aspects of the agreement to those who are raising objections to it. He also said that the parties have not given him anything in writing or discussed any matter that they don't agree with the MO. Mention may be made that Assam and Meghalaya had on March 29 signed and MO to end their border disputes in 6 of the 12 contested locations along the 884.9-kilometer border between the two northeastern neighbors. Sangma added that the MO was signed in presence of two ministers from the United Democratic Party and minister from the People's Democratic Front and one from the Hill States People's Democratic Party. President of the Nagas People's Front, Surhojili Legistu, has battled for a common front for bringing NSCNIM and NNPGs together in the Naga peace talk. The former Nagaland Chief Minister further said that it is essential that both the groups put aside their differences and come together in the peace talks, as the Indian government will not have separate settlements. He also added that their primary task is to bring both the groups together and form a common front. He further added that it is unlikely that the Indian government will continue separate talks for one final solution to the Naga issue. Days after Russia cut off natural gas supply to NATO members Poland and Bulgaria, US President Joe Biden today said that they will not let Russia intimidate or blackmail their way out of sanctions. Yesterday, Russia threatened to out the allies with a cut-off of energy supplies. Joe Biden said in a series of tweets that they will not allow them to use their oil to avoid consequences for their aggression. It may be recalled that on Wednesday, Russia's state-controlled energy company abruptly announced it would stop supplying the two European nations, Poland and Bulgaria. It also threatened to do the same to other countries and the war in Ukraine. The gas cutoff came after Russian President Vladimir Putin said that unfriendly countries would need to start paying for gas in rubles, Russia's currency, which Bulgaria and Poland refused to do. Meanwhile, Russia's move was condemned by European leaders as blackmailed. South Africa may be entering a fifth COVID-19 infection wave earlier than expected after a sustained rise in infections over the past 14 days, Health Minister Joe Phala said today. He said at this stage, health authorities had not been alerted to any new variant other than changes to the dominant one circulating Omicron. South Africa has recorded the most COVID infections and deaths in Africa to date, with more than 3.7 million confirmed cases and over 1 lakh deaths during the pandemic. On Thursday, the WHO's Africa's office flagged the rise in South Africa's COVID infections as the main driver of an uptick in infections on the African continent. Now let's recap the headlines once again. International Dance Day observed efforts on to upgrade Manipur University of Culture to Central University, says King Sanajau Balesemba. Group B topper Manipur to lock horns with 32-time champion West Bengal in second semi-final of Santosh Trophy Football Championship at 8:30 tonight. And insurgency in Northeast states reduced by 80% in last 8 years, says Ministry of Home Affairs. That's the end for today's News English Bulletin. Keep watching Mami TV News for more update.